I want a loan to start a small business.
Small business.
Small business.
I work for a small business.
A small business.
I'm saving money to buy a small business.
Hello and welcome back to the Small Business Survival Guide, where entrepreneurs from the pest control world share their tips to help your business thrive. Join us as we break down the business game and steer you towards success. We're all here from Suburban Pest Management. This company has been around for 30 years. We're an award-winning business, winning Australian Pest Manager of the Year in 2021, an ever-growing team reaching nearly 50 staff, covering all aspects of pest control. My name is Oscar and I'm the videographer and content creator here at SPM. And joining me once again are the owners, Tom and Carly. How are you?
Hello.
Going great, Oscar.
Oh, how's your day been? It's been so long since we last talked on this podcast.
Been ages, keen to get back into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Busy.
Absolutely. So today we are talking all about starting your own business. Should you do it? Should you not do it? Should you do it with your partner? Kidding, that was last episode, and you guys should all go and listen to that as well. Tom, if you had to start over, well, both of you actually, if you had to start over, what would you do regarding the business? Would you buy the business? Would you start your own business? What would happen if you had to start over?
Truthfully, I don't know if I'd have the energy to start over again. It's been a huge journey and a great one. I wouldn't change it. But to imagine doing another 12 years starting from scratch is a huge amount of energy that you've got to have for it. So I guess the first thing is you've got to be up for it. Well, I guess we should talk about the difference between if you just started your own business from scratch versus the benefits of or risk of buying an existing business. There's a lot of benefits to both. But I think, probably starting from scratch because we haven't done it before would be, and knowing what we know now would be the way I would do it.
Absolutely. Carly, would you, in 2023, start your own business again, if you would?
In pest control or something
Oh,
else?
in anything.
Anything, yeah. Yeah, I think I would.
Would it be scaled down significantly from pest control, or would you scale up?
Down.
Down.
Yeah. People management takes it out of you, so I've been doing it for a long time now. So I think that relying on yourself has benefits, but it also has disadvantages because if you're sick or if you want to go on a holiday or if you want to do things with the family, if you have a family and you don't have staff, then that impacts you too. So there's pros and cons to both, but I definitely think that if it was something I was passionate about, I would start my own business. I'm not sure. I mean, working for someone else, I think about it every now and again. I could probably just get told what to do for a while just so I don't have to make all the decisions. But I would definitely start my own business again, whether that's pest control or something else, something I'm passionate about. I think as long as you're passionate about it, you'll find the energy to wake up every day and
I think that's
do
the
well.
key. Yeah, you've got to be passionate about it.
You've got to be
It takes a lot of energy.
in it.
A lot of focus.
And like we said in the last episode, it is about the money initially. Like we all go into business going, I'm going to make a lot of money. It's going to give me freedom. It does and it doesn't. So what was the saying that you used to have? It's not about the money, it's about the end goal. And if we provide... I don't know why I asked you because I'm just going to answer it.
Yeah.
But if you provide the service and you're passionate about what you do, money, you will get the money, but that's not your driver. That's just the fuel to get you there. So
money shouldn't be the end destination.
Yeah.
It should be the fuel that drives you along the journey, the end goal.
And I feel like some of our success, I always attribute our success, and I might be going off topic here, but
That's fine.
our success is because of our staff.
No doubt.
Hiring the right team and having those people that have the same values and want to do well. I know that most of our team want to do well for us, but also for themselves. And I think that is really powerful. We do have really great staff. So
We've got an amazing team, and it's a double-edged sword because as we have an amazing team of nearly 50, yet it's the ones that exhaust you and haven't worked out in the past that can burn you, that can steal from you, that can really hurt your motivation and question why you're doing it all. And that's probably another episode entirely.
Yeah.
But you have to be
It's
you
a,
have
it's
to
a
be
good point, because
you have to be up for that.
If you're starting your own business, you got to look ahead for these things, and it's not going to be all roses. You're going to get the old bad egg in there, and that can be quite harsh on yourself for a business, definitely, and it's a learning curve. So
I think that's the key, is getting clear before you even start your business is what you want to achieve, whether it's just staying as a single operator or a mum and dad, husband and wife team for the next 30 years, never hire staff. You just want to have that balance of work-life balance and not grow a business and then eventually retire and make a bit extra income, or whether you want a global empire where you want to hire 1,000 staff and take on the world, or probably somewhere in between those two is most people's goal.
What did you want when we started, though?
As a 21-year-old, when we were getting ready, a couple of years before we took over, you felt like you wanted to make $100 million, and it was the ego telling you that it's all about the money and, to create this global empire. But it didn't take long. A few years down the track, I realized that it can't be just about the money, because it's what happens when you make money. You just set a goal to make more money, and then it just becomes not energizing. So we got clear in the early stages that our vision was to be the go-to company for pest management in Australia, and our mission was to change the way pest control is done in Australia, because as many great companies as there are out there, the regulations and the training and everything is too loose, and the way pest control should be done is not necessarily the way it's being done majority of the time. So our vision became more about changing the way that is, and that's far more energizing than just chasing the money.
I believe that's why we've done well. We don't focus on the money. I mean, it's always a focus when you need to be making
Running
money,
a business,
because the expenses just keep getting up there. But focusing on the outcome, and we want to do a good job. We want
Absolutely.
to show Queensland, at the very least, what good pest control is. And there are good pest controllers out there, but there are those that aren't doing the right thing either. So as we know, and that can go for any industry. So I think just making sure that you're in the business for the right reasons will mean that you are successful. If you're managing your cash flow, expenses, you have the right staff around you, I think it will be successful.
No, that's good. That's excellent. I really liked what you guys were saying then about having your mission statement, but allowing that to change as the industry changes, kind of adapting the business, which I think is really excellent. So the whole debate comes down to starting your own business versus buying into an existing business. I don't have experience in either. What would you recommend for someone like me? I'm 26 years old. I could try and start a business. What would your advice be?
I guess it depends. If it's a service-based industry, typically you'd need certain qualifications, and then certain licensing and insurance. So getting clear whether you were starting from scratch or, say, buying a business is an option, you need to understand all the qualifications and experience. And again, not to get too caught up in the pest control side of it, you can get licensed very quickly in the industry and be out running your own business with no experience. So there's the qualification aspect and the certificates and insurance, but it's really how much experience do you need to know to not end up getting yourself in trouble. Because if you go and do a job and get it wrong, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble in any industry, really.
Absolutely.
So that's probably a key part of it. If you were doing something completely different like retail, not knowing anything about retail, you may not need qualifications. You may just need, a university degree or TAFE course to help understand skills, or maybe you're just experienced in it already. So I think getting clear on what you actually need, and then if you are opening up a shop or something else, do you need staff straight away, or are you just going to operate on your own initially? And then the important part is where's the work actually coming from? Because it's very different to, I've talked about it in the past in other platforms, that it's great doing a few extra cash jobs on a weekend when you already got a consistent income, but then when suddenly you don't have that consistent income and the work's not coming in consistently, then all of a sudden it looks very different. So you need to be clear that yeah, if you need to be doing 30 jobs a week, for example, and you're doing 15, then where's the shortfall gonna come from? Is it subcontracting? Is it some other source of income? Is it leaning on your partner who's still got a job somewhere else? So getting clear on where the work's actually gonna come from consistently is pretty crucial.
And there'd obviously be a delay if you're starting your own business, finding the work and getting it to come in. So I think there's a bit of timing around it. Are you advertising in, it's old school, but it still works for some, like advertising in newspapers or which are a cheaper alternative to the digital world. I mean, if you're paying for digital marketing,
AdWords or
but
something,
we've had various people around us that say Facebook is where they get all their leads from. So for some people, Facebook works really well, and the Messenger and things like that. For us, we put a lot of time, energy, and money into online advertising. So, but being a bigger business, we obviously have the budget for that. So, starting off fresh, you do have to consider those things, I think, and get the ball rolling before you, dive head first. So because it might take a month for you to get some traction, and then you have to think about, okay, I'm going to do a really good job for this person, so they refer me to someone else, so I might spend a bit longer there, and it all costs money.
Absolutely.
As a single operator or a new business. So
Well, it's all about generating leads.
Yeah.
So with you guys, you took over, as we discussed last episode, from your parents, Richard and Angela, and you bought into Suburban Pest Management. That's what happened there. So did that help out initially because there were leads there that you could cater to already, or
Yeah.
what was that like?
Yeah, it's the benefit was I knew them pretty well.
Yeah.
For the first 23 years of my life. So there was a big element of trust there, which is very different to if you were buying a business from someone you didn't know, and you were buying it the same way you would as a car or a house.
Yeah.
Fortunately for us, the biggest benefit was the vendor finance aspect, which means, for those that don't know, it's just basically they agree that we'll pay them back over time, the same as we would a bank. So we didn't have to go and borrow money from a bank to do those sorts of things, because that's a whole different aspect. And most people don't necessarily just have the cash sitting there to buy a business or that sort of thing. So that aspect, and then the existing client base, existing team, even if it's a small business, it might be a single operator looking to sell their business. So you're not looking at the team, but you're looking at more of the database. Maybe it's stock, equipment, vehicles that you might be needing to get, or maybe you don't. So
well, it's hard when you purchase another company, because how do you know, it's for any company, how do you know that you're going to retain those clients? How do you know they're not just linked to that business for that person? We know lots of people that the face of the business is the person. Once they leave, what is it? So that to me would be a concern, buying a business that I'd need to, obviously contracts and things would hopefully cover you for some of that, but how do you know that you retain the work? So we were lucky, we had some contracts when we purchased Suburban that got moved into our name, but there was still that concern of, okay, well, we're doing a deed of novation or whatever it was, so there is that element where they may go and tender again because we're changing the contract. So
need to make sure that's all clear as part of the agreement that risk is mitigated.
And the other thing, because we've experienced it, is when you purchase another company, do their treatment methods and the way they run their business align with you? Because what happens when you come in and you discover that they do things very differently or a lot cheaper than you, which obviously you would have determined before you take that on. But when you start going out to these clients' houses that the previous company has been going to for years, doing different things, and you get there and go, that's not the right way to do it. How do you overcome that as well? So,
and particularly around the price point, I think I'd bring it back to, if you were starting your own business, that's where a lot of people, when you're starting out of your own home, you just got the vehicle probably and insurance. You don't have an office, you don't have other staff, a lot of other overheads. The reality is, as a single operator, you could probably do a $300 job that we charge for $250 or maybe less because you don't have those overheads.
This is just for pest control, not yet.
Pest control, for example, and that could be the case for a lot of other service-based industries. As I say, if it was retail, you've got the cost of the rent and those sorts of things. So the costs might be there straight away. But as a single operator service-based industry, a lot of your overheads aren't there. And I think that's where a lot of people can fall into the trap of charging less. But then when it comes a few years down the track and you want to purchase your own shed or your office or start hiring staff and all of a sudden your overheads increase, you can't then go and on-charge or increase prices on clients by 30-40%.
Yeah.
So for me, in the early stages is you want to work out your cost base, what you need to charge, but really you want to consider charging your worth.
Absolutely.
You don't have to just charge $200 because I can make money off $200. If your value is there and you can charge $250, $300, $500, whatever it is, you want to be able to keep that value and show that value, and that will help you in the long term. Absolutely.
That's true. Absolutely true. So you guys bought it from Richard and Angela. Did they, you guys being close and all, did they offer you advice? So, you weren't too much like deer in the headlights. Like, were they able to guide you a little bit, or was it, finding your own feet?
Yeah, well, I learned a lot off Tom's mum, Angela. So we'd already been working together for, 4 years before we took over, before we bought it. So I think I learned everything that I knew from her, just watching how she operates. I guess that might be where we've gotten how we operate as a team, because Angela was in the office operationally running most things, making sure things happened, whereas Richard was out looking at the termites, doing the quotes. He still had a lot of say over what happened, but Angela was in the office. So I feel like I learned most of what I know off her in our business. My parents also ran their own businesses. So
what were they? If you say if you want, you don't have to say.
Oh, well, my dad was a truck driver at first, so he actually owned a few of his own semi-trailers and things like that when I was younger, but gave that up because obviously mum needed dad and he was interstate, so he was never home, so he gave that up and went into paint repairs on cars and things, so completely different industry for him, and just went in, and he and mum were that husband and wife team for the whole time until dad sold his business. He did franchise it out and things like that, so he did do really well, and dad is good at business too, as well as mum. So I learnt from them as well, work ethic in particular, showing up, making sure that I do the best that I can, but also have a high standard. I definitely got that from my mum. But yeah, so pest control business wise for us, I had seen how Angela operated the business. We're very different, but I do feel like I've picked up a lot of her traits on how I operate. So
yeah, absolutely. And then on the flip side, I learned a lot off my father, particularly the pest side of it, the sales side of it, and then how to run certain things was massive. So we probably learned most of our trade from them in that first 4 or 5 years before we took over. So we felt ready to go. So we certainly learned, no question that we learned a hell of a lot from them.
Wow.
And then once we took over, they kind of moved away from the business a short time after, because we were ready, and lean on them occasionally, but we've really just, we've got our own way that we wanted to move into the technology space and those sorts of things with innovation.
Yeah.
That's taken us to the next level.
Yeah, and whilst we did buy the business, and it's still Suburban Pest Management, if you walked in to our business 12 years ago, it is run completely differently. It's very different, even the rebranding, everything.
Uniforms, everything has changed over time.
Yeah, no more ironing those workshops, but yeah.
But that's not a bad thing. The company evolution.
Oh, no, the ironing was terrible.
The ironing, I can thank goodness. I love not ironing these shirts. But yeah, no, that's absolutely incredible. So. Just to wrap things up here, like what would your advice be for someone starting their own business? If they're in a place to purchase someone else's business, should they do that, or should they try and hone it and give it a go? I suppose it applies for lots of different niches, but let's say if it's a service-based industry, what would your advice be there?
Give it a go. Now's the time. if you're willing to put in the time, the effort, have no life, probably not make much money at first, give it a go. It would take 2, 3, 4 years to start feeling comfortable. I think for me, 8 years was a nice, it felt more comfortable, not such a hard slog. But yeah, give it a go if you can. Otherwise, if you prefer not to, then keep working for someone else.
That's fine.
Yeah, I think you have to plan well, and as I said, get all the facts and the information, and don't be afraid to get that advice and the support. Advice is just is information. You make the decision. So just because you're asking different people for different advice doesn't mean you have to take it.
No.
But planning well, setting some goals for that first few months, the first year, the first 5 years, which can change, but you need to be clear on what you want to achieve in that time. And in terms of the question around, do you start your own or purchase a business, that really comes down to people's own risk profile. It's much higher risk to purchase a business because the risk of it not working, but the payoff is you're getting results faster. So if you're willing to play the longer game, starting your own business and giving it the hard yards and taking time to build up your own database is lower risk and longer term reward. So it really comes down to personal preference on that one.
And just be sensible. Just be sensible, but determined. Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode. Of course, at the end, we have our little tradition where I'm going to ask you guys a trivia question. And this time it's also based on insects. So fingers on buzzers, everyone. And you can play along at home. What is the loudest insect in the world?
Cicada?
Yeah, well, that was what I was going to say.
It is a cicada.
Oh.
Well done, Carly.
You didn't have a finger on the buzzer.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
So points go to Tom, unfortunately. Thank you, everyone. That's a wrap.
All right. Thank you.
Cheers, guys.
See ya.
I want a loan to start a small business.
Small business.
I work for a small business.
I'm saving money to buy a small business.